who is the person today that would be the best way to tell the story of America in 2022?
Gosh, that's a really good That's a really good question.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
You got the right color in your
I appreciate
suit.
it. I just thought, I was like, this is going to look good in this room.
You got that. But Elvis has a suit in the movie that's that color.
That's the ultimate compliment.
Yeah, he's got the high collar. Had it sort of remade. Mooch Prada did a version of it.
I appreciate it. This is definitely not that.
That's cool.
This film was a masterpiece, sir. So seriously, thank you for your time. And also, I just want to say thank you. You don't remember this, but after the Gatsby junket in New York, I actually, whenever I was back home in Texas, got in a car accident, and someone at Warner Brothers must have told you, and he wrote me a very nice handwritten letter about that. So I never got to say thank you. So seriously, thank you for doing that.
I'm glad you have recovered.
I'm here.
The thing is, I make films so rarely that there's plenty of time to recover.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've done that. But seriously, congratulations on this, sir. It's so good to see you again. I was wondering if you could imagine for a moment sitting in a movie theater with Elvis, watching this film, and when it's over, you lean over and you ask, what did you think about how I did this? What is the aspect of your direction, of your filmmaking that you would love to get his thoughts on?
Well, I think I just remembered this morning that when Elvis died, I really did just remember this morning, and it was like a flashbang. I remember sitting in the back of the bus, and a guy called Craig Bob and said, "Oh, do you know Elvis died?" And we're like, "What?" And we're like, "Hang on, I was meant to meet him." In my childlike, isolated in the middle of nowhere mind, I was meant to meet Elvis. I didn't. But I don't know if I've ever had that thought sitting with Elvis, but I will tell you that I met Priscilla early on, and then I became estranged from her because of the pandemic, and I never got to see her. And her seeing the movie, she started to worry, understandably. She was anxious. What would Baz do with my life, with my husband's life, all that? And no screening was more worrying to me than when Priscilla saw it. It was in the air, I texted. There was a female security guard crying, and I said, "What's wrong? Did Priscilla leave?" He said, No, she's still in there. Anyway, she wrote me a note, and I don't know what Elvis would have thought, but she wrote a note, and in the note she says, "If my husband was here today, I know he would look Austin squarely in the eyes and say, 'Hot damn, you are me.'"
Oh.
And that was it for me.
Oh, come on.
"Hot damn, you are me."
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. It doesn't matter what reviews. I mean,
I love anything that can help audiences come out of their homes, look away from their phones, and go into a big theater and as strangers and look up and commune into this movie. Great.
My parents don't really go to the movies anymore, and they're going to see this.
Well, you know what? That touches me, because I believe, I hope, I made this movie. I make theatrical movies, but I also make movies that are cross-generational, right? I mean, there are genre films that just for younger people, cool. There are movies for older people, cool. But I like to make movies that bring everyone together. And I think that's what Elvis was about. That's the man was a man who really united.
What I love about your work between Great Gatsby and this film is that you're telling the story of America through different people at different moments in time.
Yeah.
If you wanted to complete a trilogy, who is the person today that would be the best way to tell the story of America in 2022?
Gosh, that's a really good That's a really good question, because you're right. If you look at what I've done, either by design or not, I've done the 20s, the Jazz Age, and then I did the Jazz Age, and then I've done 50s, 60s, and 70s with Elvis. Now, I did do the Get Down, which picks up from the 70s and goes through the invention of hip-hop and so on and so forth. So that kind of brings me up to the 80s and to where we are now. And I don't know that I can answer that on the spot, because you've got me thinking about it. And I think about things deeply.
I appreciate you. I've got nowhere to be. We can just sit here and stare at each other.
Let's workshop it. Let's workshop.
I'm down, but when you make that movie, I want a producer credit on it. Jake Hamilton.
All right. So
just junket question.
I remember it's all started, fade in, there I was, under the hot spotlight. It's a good question, though, because maybe it's not a musical person. I mean, they'll have music in it.
Sure.
But maybe it's not a musical person. I think you can't find these references until you look back. I mean, when Fitzgerald died, He believed, he went around buying copies of The Great Gatsby because he thought no one will ever care about that. When Elvis died, you know, it's in the movie, he says, I'm almost 40, Scylla, and no one will remember me. I've never done anything significant. And yet here we are 40 years later, right? And I'm making a big movie about him. And we're at a place called Graceland, which is the second most visited place in America next to the White House. So he didn't know. And I think that iconic person to explore for this period, I won't know. I probably won't live long enough to look back and know.
Well,
that's for some young director to do. I want the younger directors to get out there and do it. I'll help them, but I'm, you know.
I don't know. I'm not done seeing your work yet. They're giving me the wrap. I got 1,000 more questions I wish I could ask you, sir. I'm such a fan of you and your work. And seriously, thank you for being so. Our first chat was Australia, believe it or not. And
gosh, man.
And it's just an honor. Thank you for being so kind.
No, your energy is great.
This is fantastic.
And I'm glad you came back.
Thanks for a great interview. Oh, no, thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.